this hour. Trophy has vanished. The trophy has vanished.
The FIFA World Cup has vanished. Not once imagined, not once predicted. The most valuable trophy in football history, gone without a trace. This is the trophy every football player dreams of. A symbol of glory, pride, and immortality in the world of football. But how did something like this even happen? A symbol of glory? Who could steal the most protected trophy on earth?
To understand this mystery, we must go back to 1930, the birth of the FIFA World Cup. A trophy was created to represent the greatest achievement in football, the Jules Rimet Trophy. It was more than a trophy. It was history, identity, and pride for entire nations. There was one rule that would change everything. Any nation winning it 3 times would keep it forever.
Fast forward to 1966. England was preparing to host the World Cup. The trophy was placed on public display in London for fans to witness football history up close. But in that moment, one small mistake in security would change everything forever. Seconds later, everything changed. The display case was empty. The World Cup trophy had disappeared without a trace.
Panic spread instantly inside the building. Staff members rushed in every direction, trying to understand what had just happened.
The world couldn't believe it.
Breaking news this hour. Trophy has vanished. The trophy has vanished.
Immediately, Scotland Yard launched one of the biggest investigations in its history.
Detectives began analyzing every possible clue. Every second mattered. Airports, train stations, and ports were immediately placed under surveillance. But there was a problem. There were no clear suspects and no solid evidence.
Then, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived that changed everything.
The message was clear. The criminals demanded £15,000 in exchange for the World Cup trophy. Police immediately began analyzing the ransom note. Every word, every detail, every possible clue was examined under strict investigation.
To catch the criminals, police decided to take a dangerous step. They went undercover.
A secret meeting was arranged shadows of London. The police were waiting, and so were the suspects.
One man arrived at the meeting. His behavior immediately raised suspicion. Within moments, police made their move. The man denied everything. He claimed he was not the real thief, only a middleman. During interrogation, one mysterious name appeared, the Pole, a figure no one... Police searched everywhere for this mysterious man, but there was no trace of him anywhere.
It was as if the Pole never existed at all, or someone was hiding him very well.
But what happened next would turn this entire investigation upside down in the most unexpected way. While detectives were chasing leads across the country, an ordinary man named David Corbett was taking his dog.
His dog, Pickles, suddenly became interested in something hidden near a hedge.
The dog refused to move on, repeatedly drawing Corbett's attention to a strange package wrapped in newspaper. At first, Corbett assumed it was nothing more than discarded trash left on the side of the road.
But as he carefully opened the package, he realized he was looking at something extraordinary. Inside the package was the missing Jules Rimet Trophy, the very object that had captured the attention of the entire world. Authorities were quickly notified, and after careful inspection, they confirmed the unbelievable truth: the trophy had been found.
Almost overnight, Pickles became a national celebrity, the dog who succeeded where hundreds of investigators had failed.
But while the trophy had been recovered, one mystery remained unsolved: the identity of the person who had taken it in the first place.
Across Britain, Pickles became an overnight sensation. Newspapers, television stations, and radio broadcasters couldn't stop talking about the dog who people celebrated Pickles as a national hero. Awards were presented, interviews were conducted, and his story inspired millions.
David Corbett suddenly found himself in the spotlight. What began as an ordinary walk had become a moment of football history.
While the nation celebrated the trophy's recovery, investigators continued building their case against Edward Bechley.
Bechley was brought before the court. Prosecutors argued that he had played a role in the ransom attempt connected to the missing trophy.
According to Bechley, a mysterious figure known only as the Pole was responsible. But proving that claim would be nearly impossible.
Detectives searched for evidence. They followed leads, checked records, and pursued every possible connection.
But despite all their efforts, the mysterious man was never found. Some investigators even questioned whether he existed at all. The investigation remained incomplete. Yet the World Cup was approaching fast, and England now faced a different challenge: hosting football's biggest tournament.
With the trophy safely recovered, the 1966 FIFA World Cup, millions of fans around the world turned their attention back to football. National teams arrived in England, carrying the hopes of their countries. The world's greatest football tournament was underway.
As the tournament progressed, drama unfolded on the pitch. Every match brought new heroes, unforgettable moments, and growing excitement. England continued advancing through the competition, moving one step closer to a dream that had never been achieved before. Then came the final: England versus West Germany. 90 minutes that would change football history forever.
The match delivered everything fans could have hoped for: intensity, drama, controversy, and unforgettable football. As the final moments approached, England moved closer than ever to becoming world champions. Then came the moment that would define a generation. Captain Bobby Moore lifted the Jules Rimet Trophy high above his head.
Few people realized how close the world had come to losing that trophy forever. But the story of the Jules Rimet Trophy was far from over.
4 years after England's historic victory, the football world gathered once again. This time, the stage was set in Mexico for the 1970 FIFA World Cup.
Among all the teams, one nation stood above the rest. Brazil arrived with extraordinary talent and enormous expectations.
Match after match, Brazil dazzled fans with beautiful football. Their creativity, speed, and confidence captivated audiences around the globe.
As the tournament progressed, Brazil continued marching toward the final, proving why they were considered one of the greatest teams ever assembled. In the final, Brazil delivered another unforgettable performance and secured their third World Cup title. With that victory, Brazil achieved something historic. They became the first nation to win the World Cup 3 times. According to FIFA's rules, Brazil had earned permanent ownership of the Jules Rimet Trophy. The famous trophy traveled to Brazil, where it would become one of the country's most treasured sporting possessions.
The Jules Rimet Trophy was placed on display at the headquarters of the Brazilian Football Confederation, where thousands came to see it. Everything seemed secure. The trophy was finally home. But hidden in the future was another chapter, one that would become even more mysterious than the first. 13 years later, the Jules Rimet Trophy remained safely displayed in Brazil, admired by football fans across the country. On the evening of December 19, 1983, everything appeared normal. The trophy sat quietly behind glass, seemingly safe from harm. But somewhere in the darkness, a group of criminals was already preparing to change football history once again. Under the cover of night, the intruders entered the building and made their way toward the trophy. Within moments, the display case was destroyed. The protection surrounding the trophy had failed. When officials arrived, they were met with a horrifying sight. The Jules Rimet Trophy was gone. Authorities immediately launched a nationwide investigation, determined to recover one of the most important artifacts in sports history. Investigators followed every lead they could find. Evidence was collected, witnesses were questioned, and suspects slowly began to emerge. Unlike the 1966 mystery, this time investigators believed they were getting closer to the people responsible. But what they would discover next was even more shocking. After months of investigation, detectives finally began identifying the people they believed were connected to the disappearance of the Jules Rimet Trophy. Authorities launched a series of operations across Brazil, moving quickly to detain several suspects linked to the case. As questioning continued, investigators began piecing together a theory of what had happened to the trophy. According to investigators, the trophy may have been taken not for its historical value, but for the precious metal it contained. A disturbing theory emerged. Authorities suspected that the trophy had been destroyed and reduced to raw metal shortly after it disappeared. Despite extensive searches, no trace of the original Jules Rimet Trophy could be found. Eventually, several individuals were brought before the courts in connection with the case. Some suspects were convicted and received prison sentences, bringing a measure of accountability to the case.
But there was one heartbreaking reality that no verdict could change. The trophy itself was still missing. Unlike 1966, there would be no heroic discovery, no happy ending, and no miraculous return.
The disappearance of the Jules Rimet Trophy shocked football fans around the world. One of the sport's greatest symbols had seemingly vanished forever.
Years passed, but questions remained. What truly happened to the original World Cup trophy after it disappeared in Brazil? Some believed it had been destroyed. Others suspected it might still exist somewhere, hidden away from public view.
To this day, no one can say with complete certainty what became of the original Jules Rimet Trophy. The loss of the trophy forced FIFA to rethink how football's greatest prize should be protected. A new World Cup trophy had already been introduced in 1974, but the events surrounding the Jules Rimet Trophy gave. Today, the original FIFA World Cup trophy remains under strict protection. Winning nations receive a replica rather than permanent ownership. One story continues to inspire football fans. The story of Pickles, who helped recover the missing trophy in 1966. One disappearance ended with an unlikely hero. The other remains one of football's greatest unsolved mysteries. The World Cup trophy represents glory, but hidden behind its shine is a story of mystery. That is why the story of the Jules Rimet Trophy fascinates the world. The World Cup trophy represents glory, dreams, and history.